10 British bands, 6 decades of American chart history, and one number that separates legends from icons. You know the hits, you've heard the riffs, but right now we're going by the only metric that doesn't lie, the Billboard Hot 100. Real chart entries, real chart positions, real proof. And trust me, a couple of these are going to rearrange everything you thought you knew. Let's count it down. Number 10, the Dave Clark 5. Here's something that doesn't get said enough. The Dave Clark 5 appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show 18 times. 18. That is more appearances than any other British invasion act in history. More than the Beatles, more than the Rolling Stones, more than anyone. And yet ask someone on the street to name the biggest British bands of the 1960s. And the Dave Clark 5 might not make the first 10 names they say. They were from Tottenham, North London. Dave Clark was the drummer, and that's already unusual. Most bands build around the singer. Clark built his band around himself and a saxophone, and they made a sound that was harder and beefier than most of what the British invasion was sending over. Glad All Over came out in January 1964, and here's the detail that still gets me. It knocked the Beatles off the number 1 position on the UK singles chart. The Beatles, 6 weeks before the Fab Four even played the Ed Sullivan Show. They arrived in America already dangerous, and the Hot 100 responded. Bits and Pieces went to number 4 on the American chart. Can't You See That She's Mine went to number 4. Catch Us If You Can went to number 4. I Like It Like That was top 10. And on Christmas Day 1965, Over and Over went all the way to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. But here's what gets me about this story. Dave Clark owned his masters. He was one of the first British rock artists to negotiate full ownership of his recordings. And in some ways, that is an extraordinary achievement. But then, for almost 30 years, he kept the music off the market. No licensing, no compilations, no streaming predecessors. Until 1993, if you wanted a Dave Clark 5 record, you either already had it or you didn't have it. 30 years of silence for a catalog that belongs in the same conversation as the British invasion's finest. And here's the question that sits with me. If the Dave Clark 5 had been as relentlessly available as their contemporaries were, would this list look different? Would your older siblings' record collection have looked different? I think you already know the answer. 20 Hot 100 entries, and a story that deserved to be told better than it has been. Number 9, The Who. There is a moment in rock history that tells you everything about The Who. July 1967, Monterey Pop Festival. Jimi Hendrix is about to burn his guitar. The Who are about to demolish their instruments. The two bands spend the afternoon arguing about who gets to go on first because neither one wants to follow the other's destruction. That specific kind of energy is the same energy that put The Who on the Billboard Hot 100 more times than most casual listeners realize. The band formed in Shepherd's Bush, West London, around 1964. Pete Townshend on guitar with his windmill arms. John Entwistle on bass, doing things with a bass guitar that nobody had thought to try. Roger Daltrey up front, and Keith Moon behind the drums, doing something that sounded less like percussion and more like a controlled explosion. I'm a substitute for another guy. I Can See for Miles. The song Pete Townshend considered the best thing the band had ever recorded reached number 9 on the Hot 100 in 1967. He told interviewers he'd held that track back for years, saving it, waiting for the perfect moment. He believed it was unbeatable. And when it peaked at 9 and started sliding, he said the public's reaction hurt him more deeply than anything else in his career. The best thing he'd ever made, number 9, and that was it. They kept coming. Pinball Wizard to 19. See Me, Feel Me to 12. Won't Get Fooled Again, and one of the greatest rock records ever made, to 15. Squeezebox to 16. Who Are You to 14. You Better You Bet to 18 in 1981. More than 15 years of chart presence, close to 20 total Hot 100 appearances. But the story underneath all of it is Moon, Keith Moon, who died in September 1978 at 32, an overdose of the medication prescribed to manage his alcohol withdrawal, and John Entwistle, the quiet one, the thunderous one, found dead in a Las Vegas hotel room in June 2002, on the eve of a 50-city American tour. The show didn't happen. You know that feeling when a band loses someone and the music somehow still goes on, but something essential has permanently shifted? The songs still hit, but the version of the band that made them, that's gone. That's The Who, and they belong at number 9.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
Number 8, Def Leppard. 19 songs on the Billboard Hot 100 for a band of teenagers from Sheffield, England, who started rehearsing in a spoon factory and ended up selling more than 100 million records worldwide. And 19 barely captures it because a significant chunk of those entries came from a single album. 7 Hot 100 singles from Hysteria. That is the most Hot 100 singles ever generated by a single hard rock or metal record. 7. Here's the build. Def Leppard released Hysteria in August 1987 after 4 years of recording. 4 years that included their drummer, Rick Allen, losing his left arm in a car accident on New Year's Eve, 1984. Allen came back with a custom-built electronic kit controlled by his feet and his remaining arm. He came back to the studio. He came back to the stage, and they finished the album. Women went to number 80. Animal went to 19. Hysteria went to 10. Their first ever U.S. top 10. Then came Pour Some Sugar on Me. The song most people would pick as the definitive Def Leppard record. The song that turns up in movie trailers, that riff you've been humming since you first heard it. It went to number 2. Number 2, their biggest sounding hit, not number 1. So what actually got there? A power ballad called Love Bites. On October 8th, 1988, it reached the top of the Hot 100, replacing Bobby McFerrin's Don't Worry, Be Happy at number 1, their only chart topper. And here's the detail that Phil Collen of the band told Spotify in a podcast interview. When Love Bites hit number 1, they had never played it together in the same room. The song was assembled piecemeal, different studios, different sessions, different years. Vocal parts tracked here, guitar parts tracked there. They released it. It went to number 1. And then they had to actually learn how to perform it live. If you've ever built something piece by piece, something that came together in fragments you weren't sure would hold, and then watched it somehow work. You know, that specific kind of stunned relief. That's the Love Bites story. That's number 8. Number 7, Herman's Hermits. She's the kind of girl who's not too shy. Stay with me on this one, because this is a band that in a very specific, very narrow window of time was the biggest thing in American music. Not the biggest British act, the biggest thing, full stop. In 1965, Herman's Hermits outsold the Beatles in the United States. Take a second with that. They were from Manchester, fronted by 16-year-old Peter Noone, whose face seemed designed to be on a teenage girl's bedroom wall. They weren't edgy, they weren't dangerous, they were warm and melodic and relentlessly likable. And America in 1965 could not get enough of them. Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter went to number 1. I'm Henry VIII, I Am went to number 1. And here's the wrinkle. Neither of those singles was released in the UK. MGM put them out specifically for the American market. The British label didn't bother. These were 2 American number 1s built from British music hall novelty that the British public never actually bought. Between March and August of 1965, Herman's Hermits spent 24 consecutive weeks in the Billboard Hot 100 Top 10 with 5 different singles. Not 5 total weeks, 24 consecutive weeks, top 10, unbroken. That is the kind of American chart dominance most bands never even approach. 19 Hot 100 entries total, 11 top 10s, 2 number 1s. She's the kind of girl who's not too shy. And if you were pressing a transistor radio to your ear that summer, you know what this felt like. Herman's Hermits were everywhere. Then by 1967, the formula wore thin. The British invasion started giving way to psychedelia and something more serious. The audience moved on. Noone eventually went solo. Deared the specific pop magic of that moment and closed. Some of y'all just had a memory flash when I said those 2 number 1s. I know it. And I'm not going to interrupt that. There's a particular kind of career where you peak so fast and so high that the moment's gone before the world figures out how to talk about you. That's not failure. That's just how lightning works. Number 6 has a twist that connects the 1960s to the early 1990s in a way you probably never saw coming. Number 6, The Hollies. 22 entries on the Billboard Hot 100. A career of hits stretching from the British invasion into the mid-70s, and a detail buried in the song credits that most people have never connected to the right place. The Hollies formed in Manchester in 1962. Alan Clark up front, Tony Hicks on guitar, Bobby Elliott on drums. And a rhythm guitarist named Graham Nash, who would, a few years later, become one of the most famous musicians in American history as a member of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. But before he left, the Hollies were serious American chart contenders. Bus Stop went to number 5 in 1966. Stop, Stop, Stop went to 7. Carrie Ann hit 9. He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother peaked at 7 in 1969. One of the most emotionally generous pop arrangements of that era, carrying a message of brotherly love at a moment when America was tearing itself apart over Vietnam. Then Nash departed in 1968, and it seemed like the best was behind them. But wait, in 1972, the Hollies, now a completely different sounding band, released Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress. Bluesier, harder edged, nothing like their 60s hits. It went to number 2. their highest charting U.S. single ever, long after their supposed commercial peak, with a sound that bore almost no resemblance to what got them on the chart in the first place.
Always something special to me, quite independent.
2 years later, in 1974, they released The Air That I Breathe, peaked at number 6, written by Albert Hammond and Mike Hazelwood. Here's what I didn't know until I started digging on this video. When Radiohead released Creep in 1992, one of the defining alternative rock songs of that decade, Albert Hammond and Mike Hazelwood, who wrote The Air That I Breathe for the Hollies, successfully claimed that the chord progression was theirs. They were awarded co-writing credits on Creep, meaning a Hollies record from 1974 is co-writing credit on a Radiohead song from 1992. And whether you read that as ironic, poetic, or just how music actually works, the connection is real, being the influence that gets credited 18 years later in a genre that didn't exist when you made the original. That is a very specific kind of legacy. And the Hollies have it. Number 5, Duran Duran.
Happy birthday to you was created.
There's a version of the 80s that doesn't happen the way it happened without Duran Duran. MTV launched in August 1981. And Duran Duran, 5 young men from Birmingham who understood before almost anyone else that the music video wasn't promotion, it was the art itself, were there from the first wave. Girls on Film, Hungry Like the Wolf, Rio. These weren't promotional clips, they were events. Shot on location in Sri Lanka and Antigua by director Russell Mulcahy, they felt like small movies, and MTV ran them on heavy rotation before US radio had even decided what to do with these 5 British kids. Before they had proper American releases, before US radio stations were playing them, MTV was making Duran Duran famous through sheer visual force. And when Hungry Like the Wolf cracked the Hot 100 in early 1983, it wasn't because radio decided to play it. It was because you'd already seen the video enough times to know every frame. 21 top 40 entries on the Billboard Hot 100. A handful of those were genuinely enormous. The Reflex, number 1 in the UK, number 4 in the US in 1984. And then A View to a Kill, the James Bond theme recorded in 1985, went all the way to number 1. Their only American chart topper, a Bond theme of all things. But here's the part most biopics skip over. At the absolute peak of their fame, somewhere around late 1984, when they arguably had the world's complete attention, the band fractured. Andy Taylor and John Taylor left to form Power Station with Robert Palmer. Nick Rhodes and Simon Le Bon went to form Arcadia. Duran Duran effectively split into 2 side projects simultaneously, leaving their fan base genuinely uncertain if the group still existed. You know how that goes when the momentum breaks at exactly the wrong moment. You know what it costs to walk away from the moment and then try to find your way back to it. Their 1993 comeback, Ordinary World, and Come Undone from the Wedding album, proved they still had it when the music mattered more than the image. Both were top 10 US hits. Both sounded nothing like the MTV era that made them famous. Both worked, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2022, number 5 on this list. And still, I would argue, underrated for what they actually built. Number 4, Queen. Here's the thing about Queen in America. Most of the world regards them as one of the biggest bands ever to exist. And on a global scale, that's simply true. But the American market and Queen had a complicated, occasionally baffling relationship that took more than a decade to fully resolve. Bohemian Rhapsody was released in 1975. In the UK, it spent 9 weeks at #1. In Australia, in Canada, massive. In America, #9 on the Billboard Hot 100. And then it faded. A song that would eventually be named one of the greatest records in rock history barely scraped the top 10 in its home market and moved on. Their chart fortunes improved significantly by 1977. We Are the Champions, backed with We Will Rock You, went to #4. And then 1980 produced something that almost never happens. 2 genuinely distinct #1 singles less than 9 months apart.
Don't stop me, don't stop me, don't stop me. Hey, hey!
Crazy Little Thing Called Love, so the rockabilly effortless Elvis inflected hit the top of the Hot 100 in early 1980. And then in August of that same year, Another One Bites the Dust, a funk groove built entirely around John Deacon's bass line, also reached #1. 2 chart toppers, 2 completely different sounds the same year.
I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. If you wanna have a
Under Pressure, their collaboration with David Bowie, peaked at 29, Body Language at 11, Radio Gaga at 16. 20-plus Hot 100 entries across their career, and a Live Aid performance in 1985 that is still, by near universal consensus, it's the greatest 20 minutes of live rock performance in history, a set that rebuilt their entire American fan base almost single-handedly.
good time. Stop, yes, I'm a good time. I don't want.
Freddie Mercury died in November 1991. And the following year, Bohemian Rhapsody was featured in Wayne's World. A generation that had missed it the first time saw Mike Myers and Dana Carvey headbanging in a Mirthmobile. And the song went to #2 on the Billboard Hot 100, 17 years after its original release. If you were in a movie theater in 1992 when that scene hit, you know exactly what happened in that room. That part still gets me. It always will. Number 3, The Kinks. Everything the Kinks were, everything they could have become in America, all of it erased by a single punch. July 2nd, 1965, Hollywood. The Kinks are backstage at a taping of a Dick Clark TV show called Where the Action Is. A union official starts making anti-British comments, escalating, ugly. According to Ray Davies' own written account, the man called them commie wimps and told them they'd never work in America again. Davies swung. The American Federation of Musicians filed a complaint, and for the next 4 years, the Kinks were effectively banned from performing in the United States. 4 years. When the ban finally lifted in 1969, after Ray personally traveled to Los Angeles to negotiate after written apologies were submitted in writing, he described what had happened with devastating simplicity. He said the Woodstock generation had arrived and the Kinks were almost forgotten. Think about that span, 1965 to 1969, no touring, no promotion, no American stage presence during the single most culturally transformative period in the history of rock music. While their contemporaries were redefining what a concert could be in front of hundreds of thousands of American fans, the Kinks were in Britain writing some of the most intelligent, specific, beautifully English songs anyone has ever written. Waterloo Sunset, Sunny Afternoon, Village Green Preservation Society, records that are regarded as masterpieces in Britain. In America, during those years, they might as well not have existed. And here's the bitter irony. You Really Got Me, in the 1964 riff that Eddie Van Halen has cited as a foundational influence on hard rock guitar, was still charting in America when the band hit. The Kinks had 3 consecutive U.S. top 10 hits, real momentum. And then the door closed on them. They came back. Lola hit number 9 in 1970. Come Dancin' hit number 6 in 1983. Nearly 20 years into their career. More than 24 Hot 100 entries across 6 decades. But Ray Davies said it himself, and I think he was right. The band took away the best years of the Kinks' career when the original band was performing at its peak. Some injustices are just too large to fully correct, no matter how many hits come after. Number 2, the Rolling Stones. 57 entries on the Billboard Hot 100, 8 number 1 singles, a career that spans more than 60 years and is still improbably still in motion. Let's start with the moment that defines the whole story. It's May 1965. The Stones are on tour in America. Keith Richards wakes up in the middle of the night in a Clearwater, Florida motel room with a riff in his head. He grabs the tape recorder he keeps by the bed, records the riff, mumbles something about not being able to get any satisfaction over it, and goes back to sleep. The next morning, he has no memory of recording it, just the tape. He played it for Mick Jagger. Jagger wrote the lyrics. They recorded it, and I Can't Get No Satisfaction went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on July 10th, 1965, where it sat for 4 weeks. The greatest rock song ever recorded, depending on who you're asking, started as a half-asleep riff on a tape machine that Keith Richards didn't even remember making. I know. I didn't believe it either the first time I read it, but it's documented. It's real. The Stones had been built in the shadow of the Beatles, literally. Their early UK hit was a cover of I Want to Be Your Man, which Lennon and McCartney had written for them as a favor. But if you try sometime, I just might find. They were the dangerous alternative, the ones your parents actually worried about. Where the Beatles were charming and clean-cut, Jagger was sneering at everything respectable people held sacred, and America loved them for it. 8 U.S. number 1s. Satisfaction, Get Off of My Cloud, Paint It, No Black, Ruby Tuesday, Honky Tonk Women and Brown Sugar, Angie, Miss You. 57 total Hot 100 appearances, 40-plus top 40 singles across their career. In a glass was a bleeding. But the story underneath the chart numbers is Brian Jones, the man who founded the band, the man who gave them their early electric sound, who brought exotic instrumentation nobody else was using, who was gradually pushed out as Jagger and Richards consolidated control, and who drowned in his own swimming pool in July 1969, months after leaving the band he built. The Stones became enormous after Jones died. The catalog he helped create turned into something he never got to see. Charlie Watts passed in August 2021, and still, impossibly, gloriously, the Stones keep going. Some things don't stop, even when you expect them to. Even when everyone around them tells them they probably should. They just keep going. She was practiced at the art. Number 1, the Beatles. Don't let me down. 71 entries on the Billboard Hot 100. 20 number 1 singles, still the most for any act in the chart's history. 35 top 10s, the most for any group in history. And a span from their first chart appearance to their last that covers 59 years and 9 months. 59 years. And still climbing. Don't let me down. In April 1964, the Beatles simultaneously held positions 1 through 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. All 5. No other act, British, American, or otherwise, has ever done that. Not before it happened, not since. I Want to Hold Your Hand debuted in mid-January 1964 at number 45. By February 1st, it was number 1. And by April, you couldn't turn on a radio, a television, or walk past a record store without hearing them. They weren't occupying a lane in American music, they were the road.
Yes, she does.
And if you've ever been in a crowd that large and that unified around a single piece of music, you know there's nothing else quite like it. The Beatles were creating that moment in 30 countries at the same time. Hey Jude sat at number 1 for 9 weeks in 1968. Let It Be. The Long and Winding Road. And then 1970, with silence, the band was over. Except the Hot 100 didn't quite accept that.
Let me down.
1995, Free as a Bird, assembled from a John Lennon home recording using new studio technology. Top 10. And then in November 2023, 46 years after Lennon first made a demo in his home studio, Now and Then was completed by McCartney and Ringo Starr, with Harrison guitar parts recovered from an earlier session, cleaned up with AI-assisted audio extraction. It entered the Hot 100 at number 7.
She done me good.
59 years, 9 months, and 3 weeks between their first top 10 hit and their last. The longest span for any act in the chart's history, by a margin no one else is anywhere near. Here's what I keep coming back to when I think about this list. Most bands define an era. The Beatles defined the concept of what a band could do to culture. They didn't just make music that people loved, they made music that made people think differently about what music was capable of being, about what they were capable of feeling.
Don't let me down.
Some of you heard these songs for the first time in a very specific place. A parent's record collection you weren't supposed to touch, a worn thin cassette in someone's car, a scene in a film that hit at exactly the right age. And something shifted. If that happened to you, if there was a moment where you heard it and felt the ground move a little, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're nodding right now, you're not alone in that room.
Don't